Chapter 4788. Qiao Fei sighed slightly. He never knew what to do with her. She knew that the moment they stepped out of the door, those old men would definitely say bad things about her. But she was still so brazen, as if she was deliberately going against them. But Qiao Fei doted on her. Qiao Fei walked up to Lu Yan and squatted down. Lu Yan jumped forward and lay on Qiao Fei's back. Then he carried her on his back. "Your Majesty, sit tight." Lu Yan smiled brightly. Lying on Qiao Fei's broad back, she fell asleep. Perhaps only by Qiao Fei's side could Lu Yan sleep soundly and peacefully. Perhaps no one knew how many years she hadn't slept well. When she had just left her father when she was young, she had to sleep under the bed to avoid being hunted. At that time, because she was too young, she was often targeted by human traffickers and perverted pedophiles. In other words, other than the people who wanted to kidnap and kill her, Lu Yan also had to avoid the darkest group of people in the world. She had never told anyone about her childhood. Her life wasn't easy. Because she knew that this was her life. No matter how difficult it was, she still made it through. Later, when she established the mercenary group, some of Lu Yan's subordinates who knew her well often felt sorry for their boss. She was a light sleeper. As long as there was the slightest movement in the room, she would immediately wake up and enter combat mode. She had a habit now. No matter if she was taking a nap or sleeping late, she had to pull out her gun as soon as she woke up. It was she who forced herself to enter combat mode all the time. Perhaps it was because of this that she was able to live until now unscathed. Many people said that a woman like Lu Yan was no longer a human but a god. She almost never made mistakes and never lost. All the people who wanted to kill her were dead, and she was the only one who was still alive. In fact, Lu Yan knew that she wasn't a god. She was just flesh and blood. Just like any other ordinary girl, she knew how to act coquettishly, how to be unreasonable, and how to cause trouble on purpose. But she would only do this to Qiao Fei. In other people's eyes, Lu Yan was always high and mighty, but in Qiao Fei's eyes, Lu Yan was a very childish and domineering little girl. Qiao Fei carried Lu Yan on his back and walked 3 kilometers. 3 kilometers wasn't a long distance. Lu Yan wasn't heavy, but she had to pass through the headquarters of the Qiao family. Qiao Fei's doting only proved how good he was to Lu Yan. That was something that many women could only dream of. Back to the manor, the housekeeper hurried over to take Lu Yan from Qiao Fei. Qiao Fei made a shushing gesture. Obviously, he didn't want her to wake up. Qiao Fei carried her all the way to the bedroom, not the guest room but his own bedroom. He had planned to put her down and sleep on the bed. But just as he was about to put it down, Qiao Fei hesitated. He knew that Lu Yan was a light sleeper more so than anyone else. If he put her down, she would wake up immediately. In the end, Qiao Fei decided to carry her on his back. If he couldn't walk, then he wouldn't. He would carry her on his back quietly and not put her down. Lu Yan slept for 1 hour and 15 minutes. For ordinary people, it was a normal afternoon nap. But for Lu Yan, she hadn't felt so good in 2 or 3 months. She fell asleep defenselessly because she knew that even if the sky fell, Qiao Fei would hold it up for her. She even had a very beautiful dream. Chapter 4789. She dreamed that her mother came back to life in a cave in Iceland and that her father was no longer hiding. She dreamed that she met her sister and the 4 of them sat in a cozy house, eating lunch and chatting happily. When Lu Yan woke up from her dream, she could still smell the scent of her sweet dream. She greedily inhaled Qiao Fei's unique masculine scent. Then she entered the zone in 1 second. Psycho Qiao, how long did I sleep? 1 hour, 15 minutes and 28 seconds, Qiao Fei said as he looked at his watch. I haven't felt so good in a long time. Lu Yan lazily got off Qiao Fei's back and stretched. I can make you feel even better. Do you want to try it? Qiao Fei turned around and looked at her. It's the middle of the day and you're talking about something that's not suitable for children. Is it okay? You must have misunderstood something. I meant to massage your shoulders. Qiao Fei stood up and walked behind Lu Yan, placing his big hands on her shoulders. Stop it. Do you think I don't know what you're doing? Lu Yan chuckled. Qin Chu had used this trick on Huamin many times and Huamin would blush every time. But Lu Yan was different. When she was shameless, even she was scared of herself, let alone Qiao Fei. Yan, it seems like you're going to take the tiger bone wine, right? Qiao Fei asked as he massaged Lu Yan's shoulders. He didn't want to mention it so early in the morning, but he knew it wasn't a joke when he said it in front of so many people. No one could stop Lu Yen from doing whatever she wanted, not even him. He knew her too well and knew that Lu Yen wouldn't return empty-handed from Russia. Yeah, Lu Yen answered nonchalantly with her eyes closed, still enjoying Qiao Fei's massage. Is that guy from the Bai family that important to you? Sure enough, Qiao Fei was still jealous. Lu Yen laughed. You don't look good when you're jealous. You're not handsome anymore. Humph. Qiao Fei looked away. Lu Yen raised her hand and placed it on Qiao Fei's hand on her left shoulder. Qiao Fei paused. Fei, you know me best. You know me better than my father. So, I think you might understand what I'm saying. That kid from the Bai family doesn't have much of a relationship with me. I just went to assassinate him with a mission. In the end there was a small accident. Bai Shang made me feel that his life in this world is more difficult than mine. So, I just want to speak up for him. It's just like how I once risked the risk of being infected and saved a group of unrelated children in Africa who had the plague. Lu Yan's explanation was very thoughtful. Qiao Fei could understand her. Lu Yan didn't care about the identity of the person she wanted to save, nor did she care about their relationship. Just for a moment, if it could arouse her compassion, she would lend a helping hand. To put it bluntly, Lu Yan saved people randomly based on her mood. However, she was not fickle. As long as she made a promise, she would fulfill it. Therefore, when she agreed to speak up for Bai Chong, she would definitely do it. Even if it meant risking her life, she would still obtain the tiger bone wine. This was her personality. If one day you could measure Lu Yan with the morals and actions of an ordinary person, perhaps she wouldn't be the real Lu Yan. Hey, I've explained it so sincerely. Are you still going to be jealous? Don't be jealous. It's so sour. Lu Yan began to act coquettishly. Qiao Fei sighed slightly. He raised his hand and stroked her long hair lovingly. You want the tiger bone wine? I'll get it for you. Chapter 4790. Although she knew that Qiao Fei would definitely help her, hearing him say it personally, Lu Yan felt warm in her heart. She didn't forget to tease him. Huh? Don't you think this is a typical case of forgetting your father after marrying your wife? It's really nice of you to help me trick your father. Qiao Fei. Ha, I'll stop teasing you. If I continue, you'll kick me out. Lu Yan laughed. Then in a flash she got off the bed. Her movements were extremely clean. She turned on her watch and gave instructions to her subordinates. She didn't want to stay in Russia for too long, so it was inevitable that she would rely on Qiao Fei to get the tiger bone wine. In Lu Yan's heart, Qiao Fei was one of her people, so there was no need to be polite. At 9 p.m. that night, Qiao Fei went to the secret room where the tiger bone wine was stored alone. Perhaps because Lu Yan had specifically said that she wanted the wine during the day, the old man of the Qiao family was on guard. At night, Qiao Fei found that there were twice as many guards as usual. He was so smart, so how could he not know what was going on? Third young master. Hello, third young master. The guards of the Qiao family in the secret room all greeted the young master respectfully. Has my father been here? Qiao Fei asked knowingly. The leader of the guards hurriedly nodded. The family head came in the afternoon and told us to guard it strictly. Did my father also say that even if I came I couldn't open the door? Qiao Fei asked him. The man was obviously a little embarrassed. He lowered his head and didn't say anything. It's okay. You've been in the Qiao family for many years and are also my elder. I definitely won't make things difficult for you, or go against my father's orders. Thank you, young master, for your understanding. The white-haired leader of the guards looked at Qiao Fei gratefully. Qiao Fei knew that his father must have already told him, so even if he insisted on opening the door, his father would be alerted. It's okay. Continue with your work. I'm just here to take a look. I'll leave soon. Then Qiao Fei turned around and left without even approaching the door of the secret room. As soon as Qiao Fei left, everyone let out a sigh of relief. Boss, did third young master give up on taking the wine? It's great that we don't have to fight with him. Otherwise, we'll really be in a difficult position. If we let third young master take away the tiger bone wine, the clan leader will definitely be furious. If we don't give third young master the wine with his skills, he'll definitely tangle with us. At that time, if we hurt him, the clan leader's heart will ache and he'll still want to teach us a lesson. If we don't hurt him, he'll definitely not give up and continue to fight with us. Just thinking about it is scary. The guard leader didn't say anything. To be honest, he was also afraid of such a situation. Fortunately, Qiao Fei was more sensible. He did not force his way in or snatch the wine. Instead, he left. However, he was still vaguely worried that things weren't that simple. The third young master was easy to talk to, but what about Lu Yen? The whole world knew that this woman was not to be trifled with. At this thought, the leader of the guards reminded them, although third young master is gone, we still need to be on guard against Lu Yen, his boss. There were more than 30 elite guards guarding this place. At this time, not even a fly could fly in, let alone a living person. However, even such a tight defense was easily broken by Lu Yen. Lu Yen didn't go in herself. Instead, she used a computer to remotely control the surveillance system of the secret room. From the moment Qiao Fei went in, the surveillance system was hacked. Therefore, the people on the surveillance system couldn't see Qiao Fei going into the secret room. Then Lu Yen put a kind of ecstasy on Qiao Fei's body. It was a kind of drug that caused a reaction. It wouldn't make people faint immediately. However, 10 minutes after Qiao Fei left, all 30 people fainted on the ground. After this group of people fainted, Qiao Fei turned back and gave Lu Yen an OK sign on the surveillance screen. Chapter 4791. Lu Yen smiled slightly. She knew it would be easy and wouldn't hurt anyone. Then Qiao Fei walked to the door of the secret room. It was a device that recorded his father's fingerprints and retina. Fortunately, Lu Yen had great magical powers and managed to deceive the system by making a copy out of it. The main reason was that she hacked the system and messed it up, making it less sensitive. Just like that, Qiao Fei entered the secret room. Qiao Fei had been to the secret room before. After entering, he found the place where the wine was stored. The wine was stored in barrels made of special materials, and all the wine was in one barrel. Qiao Fei's father was afraid that someone would steal the wine, so he installed an alarm under the barrel. If someone touched the tiger bone wine and the weight changed, the alarm would go off immediately. This was a piece of cake for Lu Yen. She used a sophisticated device to analyze the weight of a glass of wine. Then she installed the device under the barrel with a material of the same density without attracting attention. Qiao Fei installed the material bit by bit as he took out the wine. In the end, it was the best of both worlds. The whole process took less than 8 minutes. The guards who fainted would wake up in 10 minutes and forget what had just happened. Inside Qiao Fei's private manor, Qiao Fei walked in with a glass of wine. Lu Yen pounced on him like a wolf cub. "Baby, thank you for your hard work." "Moi." Qiao Fei pouted. "Don't give me that. I want meat." "Meat? Sir. Do you want pork ribs or pork trotters? I'll make you a stew tonight. I'll make 18 dishes for you. You can have a Manchu Han Imperial feast." Lu Yen played dumb. "I don't want a Manchu Han Imperial feast. I just want one dish." "What?" Lu Yen continued to play dumb. "Lu Yen with mustard." "Haha. I can eat Lu Yen but not mustard. It's too spicy." Lu Yen laughed wildly. "Then hurry up and wash it for me." "No problem. After I finish this, I don't believe you. You've stood me up for years. You've been lying to me since you were 18. You're 20 now. Give me the wine first. I want to pack it and leave Russia immediately. Otherwise, your dad will kill me if he finds out I stole the wine." Lu Yen stopped flirting with Qiao Fei. She snatched the precious tiger bone wine from Qiao Fei's hand. Then he hurriedly sealed it in a small container. "Yen," Qiao Fei called out to Lu Yen's busy figure. "Ah. Can you not personally deliver it to that brat from the Bai clan? I don't want you two to meet." Qiao Fei knew that Lu Yen wouldn't be interested in someone of Bai Shang's level, and there wouldn't be anything between them. But Qiao Fei knew Lu Yan's charm. Bai Shang must like her very much. Even if it was a one-sided love, he didn't want his personal belongings to be peeked at. So for the first time he made a request to Lu Yen. He had never interfered before. To be honest, everyone knew Lu Yan's willfulness. She didn't even listen to Professor Lu, let alone him. Therefore when Qiao Fei said this, he was actually uncertain. He might be rejected by Lu Yen in the next second. But to his surprise, Lu Yen put down the wine in her hand and turned around. She slowly walked towards Qiao Fei and put her arms around his neck. She gave him a light peck at the corner of his mouth. "I'll have someone send it over. I won't see him." Qiao Fei was ecstatic to hear this. "Are you super happy?" Lu Yen asked him. Qiao Fei nodded. "There's something even happier. Do you want to try it?" Lu Yen smirked. Yes. Qiao Fei didn't care about etiquette anymore. Chapter 4792. Lu Yen smiled slightly. You're so nice to me. I plan to take you on a trip. That's it? Qiao Fei's face darkened. What? You don't like it? Forget it. I'll go by myself. Okay, I'll go wherever you go. Afraid that the little princess would be angry, Qiao Fei immediately gave in. Then hurry up and pack your things. We'll leave soon. Okay. It was late at night. Lu Yen and Qiao Fei took over the Qiao family's secret guards, hacked into the surveillance cameras and left through the back door. After a 30-minute car ride, they left on Lu Yan's private jet. When Qiao Fei's father found out that his son was kidnapped, it was already an hour after the plane took off. Family head, the third young master is missing. What do you mean he's missing? Old Qiao was furious. He's not in the private manor. Miss Lu and her subordinates are also missing. Qiao Fei's father's first reaction was that the wine had gone missing. He immediately got up and went to the secret room. He asked the guards and they all said that no one had been there. Old Qiao still didn't believe it. He opened the password lock and checked the weight of the wine. It hadn't changed at all. He felt that something was wrong. Did the girl give up so easily? Qiao Fei's father muttered to himself. He still couldn't figure out what went wrong. He had watched Lu Yen grow up over the years and knew a little about her. That child had always been someone who wouldn't give up until she reached her goal. Why did she leave so willingly this time? And it was in the middle of the night. Although his son was kidnapped, it wasn't something he could handle. Qiao Fei often went out with Lu Yen. Thinking about it, he couldn't figure out what went wrong. Old Qiao left with a heavy heart. On the private jet, Lu Yen leaned against Qiao Fei's chest and fell asleep. Qiao Fei hugged his sweetheart contentedly and slept soundly. 4 hours later, at 2 a.m., the plane was about to land in China. Boss, we're almost there, Alai whispered in Lu Yan's ear. Lu Yan opened her eyes and entered the zone. After we get off the plane, take the wine with Jinju and tell Bai Shang that I gave it to her. If we both leave, what about you, boss? Alai was worried about Lu Yan's safety. I'll be fine. Thinking that Qiao Fei was here, Alai nodded and felt relieved. Then boss, you and young Master Qiao should be careful and keep in touch. Yeah. Do you remember how to break the Big Dipper array? Lu Yan asked lazily without looking up. This subordinate remembers. Don't make any mistakes. If you lose the wine, you can go back to the headquarters and go into seclusion. Don't come out anymore. Boss, don't worry. I'll definitely do it well. Alai thought to himself. Boss's threat was too damn serious. Lu Yan had 60 elites under her command, but only 10 of them were on missions all over the world. 8 of them were in different countries, and Duke Aeljin was chosen by Lu Yan to follow her. Although the risk factor was high, the life there was good food and drink. It was the life of an immortal. Alai liked to follow boss around like this. If he went back to the headquarters and stayed on that small island, he would probably be depressed in less than a month. Therefore, no matter what, he had to do a good job with boss. After the plane landed, the 4 of them separated. He had contacted someone in advance to prepare 2 cars. One was an inconspicuous black Jeep for Alai and Jinju. It was a fancy red Porsche sports car driven by Lu Yan. In Sea City, Lu Yan drove the Porsche sports car and drove Qiao Fei through the night in the city. Fei, do you want to see what Suyu looks like? Lu Yan asked. Suyu? The guy who knows Sister Mian is married but still won't let her go, Qiao Fei asked calmly. Chapter 4793. Lu Yan nodded and turned up the music in the car. Why should we look at him? Shouldn't we look at my brother-in-law? Qiao Fei knew all of Lu Yan's secrets. He knew she had a sister who lived like an ordinary person and was proficient in medicine. He knew she had a loving husband and lived a happy life. I've investigated Qin Chu thoroughly. But I'm interested in Suyu. Lu Yan smirked. Sure, but don't get into trouble. Qiao Fei wasn't afraid Lu Yan would look at other men, but he was afraid she'd get into trouble. After all, they were in China and because of Sister Mian they would come here often. It would be bad if she made a big scene. Okay, I promise. I won't get into trouble. Lu Yan was in a good mood. Every time she came to this city, she felt she was only one step away from her sister. Although they couldn't meet or acknowledge each other, she was satisfied to be in the same city as her sister. Seductive Foxu Yu didn't drink with Wei Liao and Tang Chuan, which was rare. Instead, he drank with a group of rich second-generation heirs. Su Yu was a super rich man, but he couldn't be considered a second-generation heir because he was richer than his father. Therefore, Suyu was a real rich man who could live a prosperous life without his father's help. Lu Yen and Xiao Fei walked in and sat down in a booth in the hall, looking at the sexy girl in skimpy clothes in the middle of the dance floor. Lu Yen teased Xiao Fei. Who has a better body, me or her? Do you want to tell me the truth? Xiao Fei asked. Of course. She has a better body. Do you want to die? The next second, Lu Yen pressed a dagger against Xiao Fei's waist. Weren't they on the same side? Why did this guy say the girl on the dance floor had a better body without hesitation? Lu Yen had a superb body. Except for some scratches on her skin, she was exquisite. You asked me to tell you the truth and now you're like this? Xiao Fei looked wronged. How dare you? Ask yourself. Are you telling the truth? No matter what, I'm still 16 years old and I weigh less than 100 pounds. You didn't even think about it and you said that I have a good figure. Are you deliberately slandering me? No, I'm telling the truth. That girl was in the middle of the stage and the lights were shining brightly on her. I can see her clearly. You're always wearing a windbreaker no matter if it's winter or summer. You wrap yourself up like a dumpling. How am I supposed to see your figure? Why don't we get a room now and you take it off so I can take a closer look? Fuck you. Lu Yen finally realized that Xiao Fei was the one who had set her up. He almost jumped. It wouldn't be easy for him to force Lu Yen to take off her clothes with this provocation. Xiao Fei was risking his life. Psycho Xiao, let me tell you, if you say that, I'll take off my clothes right now, go on stage and dance. Do you believe that I'll get more applause than that woman? Xiao Fei's face darkened. Don't be so stubborn. Can you stop? What did you promise me before we came? Don't cause trouble. Hee. I know. But we can't see Suyu from here. He's in the private room on the top floor. What do you want? Xiao Fei's eyelids twitched and he had a bad feeling. Sure enough. The next second, Lu Yen took off her jacket and put on the waiter's uniform she had gotten from somewhere. Give me a second, I'm going to deliver some wine to Suyu's private room. With that, she disappeared in a flash. Xiao Fei. Chapter 4794. A long time later, at the grand wedding of Hua Min and Qin Chu. Qin Guogua, who was 5 years old, asked Xiao Fei a question. Uncle, why do you have white hair? It's so cool, Xiao Fei answered seriously. It's all because of your auntie. So, you must remember that when you grow up and get married, don't marry someone who will make you worry. Xiao Fei's words made the twins burst into laughter. Xiao Fei's silver hair became the biggest black mark against Lu Yen. Lu Yen disappeared in a flash. It was no wonder she had so many tricks up her sleeve. He had thousands of ways to see Suyu. Feeling depressed, Xiao Fei leaned against the booth and continued playing games on his cell phone. He liked peace and quiet and wasn't interested in drunken debauchery, shaking their heads, or heavy metal. In a luxurious private room on the top floor, Suyu was in a bad mood. Wearing a white Versace short-sleeved shirt, he leaned against the sofa in the center seat. One of his hands covered half of his face. No one knew if he was drunk or if he was thinking about something. Lu Yen tied up her hair and changed into a waiter's uniform. Then she followed a few waiters into the room. Young Master Han, here's the wine you ordered, the waiter said. The man waved his hand. Send the red wine to Lord Su. Leave the rest here. Yes. The waiter looked back at Lu Yen. Why are you still standing there? Send your wine to Lord Su. I'm new here. I don't know who Lord Su is, Lu Yen said weakly. The rich kids around them laughed. Little girl, look. The one with the best looks and the most charismatic is him. Lu Yen pretended to look around. In fact, she had seen Suyu's photos. She even found some secret photos of Suyu when he was a soldier on her computer. So she knew who Suyu was. He said that on purpose as a prank. Then Lu Yen walked up to Suyu with the red wine in her hand. Lord Su, your wine. Well, put it here. Suyu didn't even look at her. Alright, do you need me to open it for you? Suyu replied in a muffled voice. Lowering her head, Lu Yen opened a bottle of wine and glanced at the cell phone in Suyu's hand. From time to time he would turn it on, look at the desktop, and then turn it off. People who didn't know better might think that he was looking at the time to see what time it was. However, Lu Yen noticed that Suyu's screensaver was her sister's photo. Although it was just a glance, it was definitely his elder sister. Lu Yen had a deep impression of Hua Min's face. She had even dreamed of him many times. Lu Yen had almost all of Hua Min's photos. She had saved thousands of them from when he was a child to when he was an adult. But Lu Yen had never seen this picture before. The sister in the photo was wearing a white lab coat and a pair of black-rimmed glasses. She was dressed very old-fashioned and rustic, but when paired with that extremely delicate face, the entire atmosphere of the photo changed. She could even vaguely see Huamin's natural aura. This photo was probably taken by Suyu in secret. It wasn't very clear, but the angle was good. It seemed that the rumors about Suyu being infatuated with her sister were true. After opening a bottle of wine for Suyu, Lu Yen stood up and walked out. "Hey, little girl, did you just get here?" A man stopped her. "Yeah." Lu Yen nodded. "Are you still a virgin?" the man asked in disgust. The other men around him all laughed. These rich second-generation heirs loved to play pranks and humiliate others. Other waiters wouldn't dare to say anything, but Lu Yen smiled slightly and asked him back, "Are you still a virgin?" Chapter 4795. She thought her words would piss off the thug. But to her surprise, the guy was even more shameless as he winked at Lu Yen. "Since you're so curious about your brother, why don't we find a quiet place and I'll let you test me?" Only this shameless wastrel would say such lewd words. Lu Yan's smile grew brighter. "Sure. Oh, this new chick has guts. She dared to piss off young Master Liang. Yeah, young Master Liang has met his match." Young Master Liang had a bad reputation in the circle. Just because his family was rich, he played with all kinds of women. Moreover, his table manners were terrible. He never spent money on women and sometimes even blackmailed women. He was shameless to the core. As for why he showed up at this dinner party, it was because of his cousin. This guy's cousin was Suyu's good friend. His friend saw that Suyu was in a bad mood recently, so he invited him to a dinner party. He didn't expect his cousin to be so drunk and not care about his image. Young Master Liang was about to take Lu Yen away. Just then Suyu said, "Don't eat too badly." Suyu's words silenced everyone. Lu Yen also turned around and narrowed her eyes, sizing him up with interest. "Lord Su?" Young Master Liang sobered up a lot. "Follow the rules wherever you go. The owner of Seductive Fox is my friend. Don't cause trouble here. Go find women outside. And don't touch the waiters here." These were Suyu's exact words. He didn't want to save anyone, he just didn't want to cause trouble at Seductive Fox. After all, it was Rick's place. Although Suyu wasn't as close to Rick as Chinchu was, he still had to maintain his image. However, he still had to save face. Especially since he was in the police station, he didn't want to make things too ugly. Occasionally, Suyu's words were like an imperial edict. His words scared young Master Liang so much that he didn't even dare to fart. Lu Yen left the room when she realized she couldn't finish the game. No one paid any attention to the new waiter. On the surface, Suyu saved the waiter, but in reality he saved the pig head. Otherwise, if he really went out with Lu Yen, he wouldn't be able to return. He saw Suyu and played the game. Lu Yen found a corner and took off her waitress uniform. She changed into her windbreaker and went back to find Xiao Fei. Then from afar he saw a woman with big breasts and big buttocks who had undergone plastic surgery. She was holding a wine glass and pestering Xiao Fei. "Handsome, just one drink." "I don't drink." Xiao Fei's face was cold. "I like cool girls like you. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a hostess nor am I a shill. My father is a famous tycoon in this city and I'm a socialite. If you become friends with me, I promise you won't lose out. Don't you understand what I'm saying? Get lost." Xiao Fei had never been interested in these vulgar women. He would feel disgusted if he said more than a few words. "Don't be mad, handsome. I really like your type." The woman didn't seem to give up and wanted to pester him to the end. At this moment, Lu Yen walked over and patted the woman's shoulder. "Hey, big-breasted girl, do you know my husband?" "Your husband?" The woman looked puzzled. "Yeah, he's my sugar daddy. If you like him, you can, but I have to have money first." Lu Yen smirked. Xiao Fei's eyelids twitched, knowing it was over. She was addicted to the game again. "If I have more money than you, your husband will give me a game, right?" The woman looked down on Lu Yen because she didn't have any branded clothes on her. She thought Lu Yen might be a delinquent girl. "Sure, but if you lose, you'll have to take off your clothes and dance in the middle of the stage. You'll have to shout 'I'm a bitch' 3 times. Lu Yen crossed her arms and smiled. She knew the consequences of flirting with her man wouldn't be pleasant. Chapter 4796. Hearing Lu Yan's arrogant words, the woman was infuriated. Bitch, how dare you challenge me? Tell me, how do you want to compete? I'll play with you until you're satisfied. Their voices grew louder and louder as more and more people came to watch. In the end, even the hot dancers on the stage got off the stage. Everyone crowded around the two women. Lu Yan didn't show her real face. She disguised herself to hide her stunning face. Qiao Fei, on the other hand, didn't disguise himself, so his face was stunning. No wonder strange women came to fight over him. She didn't get any fun from Su Yu, but she got some fun from her man. Lu Yan's heart was jumping with excitement. Let's buy some alcohol. Those who can't afford it lose. No problem, the woman agreed immediately, not knowing that she had jumped into Lu Yan's trap. Lu Yan made a few calls. Waiter, do you have whiskey? Yes, ma'am. One for each person. The moment Lu Yan finished speaking, the crowd went wild. Whiskey usually cost more than 3,000 yuan a bottle at a place like Seductive Fox. At this time there were at least 1,000 customers. In other words, Lu Yan spent 3 million yuan with just one sentence. The woman was a bit dumbfounded. She thought Lu Yan would start with Budweiser. She didn't expect Lu Yan to spend 3 million yuan so quickly. She wanted to be better than Lu Yan, she had to buy something more expensive. The big-ass woman shook her body and yelled, "Royal salute, one for each person. It's my treat." Instantly the crowd went wild again with even louder cheers. The royal salute cost 6,000 yuan a bottle, which was double the price of Lu Yan's, which was 6 million yuan. Lu Yan shook her head, thinking that her opponent was too weak. Qiao Fei secretly tugged on Lu Yan's sleeve. "Stop playing. It's time to go." "How can I do that? If I lose, you have to give it to someone else." "Think about it." Lu Yan rolled her eyes. Qiao Fei. He couldn't do anything about his woman's stubbornness. He didn't want to hit her or scold her, and she wouldn't listen to him. Qiao Fei looked helpless. If another person dared to do this, he'd be a corpse by now. Lu Yan didn't want to waste any more time with her and went straight to the point. "Waiter, how many years of Lafite do you have here?" "The 1982 model is currently in stock." "Okay, one bottle for each of you," Lu Yan said calmly. Then the whole room exploded. "Really? No way. This woman must be crazy. 82 Lafite, oh my god. I can't believe it. She's definitely super rich. She's Su Yu's sister. Oh my god. She's burning money." The waiter was a little confused when he heard that. After a while he came back to his senses and said, "Ma'am, that's a lot of Lafite. We don't have any stock, it's okay. You can ask your boss to make up for it later. I'll open it first. I'll pay later." "Ma'am, the 1982 Lafite here sells for more than 80,000 yuan a bottle. Are you really going to give everyone a bottle?" The waiter felt that his heart was about to jump out. Lu Yan nodded slightly and smiled. 80,000 a bottle for 1,000 people, 80 million. Yes, that's right, 80 million. This was probably the biggest order Rick had ever received since he opened his business. The big-ass woman across from her was dumbfounded. Then, to save her face, she yelled at Lu Yan in disdain. "Are you planning to clean the bar for the rest of your life to pay off your debt if you can't pay the bill? Do you think someone as poor as you can afford 80 million yuan? I don't believe you. You're just bluffing." "Wrong. Did your PE teacher teach you math in elementary school? 80 million yuan plus the 3 million yuan just now. Fat woman, it's your turn." Lu Yan smiled provocatively. Chapter 4797. Hearing Lu Yan's provocation, the fat woman couldn't continue bidding. She wasn't from a wealthy family and could afford drinks that cost a few million yuan. But even if she could afford to treat a stranger to drinks that cost 80 million yuan, she wouldn't do it willingly. Besides, 80 million yuan wasn't a small amount for this woman. She didn't have that much liquid capital. Her husband, who was only in name, still had a real estate company and relied on bank loans to survive. But if she admitted defeat in front of so many people, she would lose face. So she said this. "You brat. If you pay the bill with that much money, I'll lose. Don't make empty promises. I despise fake rich people like you." "Fake rich people? Me?" Lu Yan smiled even more happily. Qiao Fei lowered his head even more. Those who called Lu Yan a fake rich person were probably idiots. Who was Lu Yan? She was a famous rich woman. Seeing her was like seeing a gold mine. "Waiter, send me your bank account number. I'll transfer the money now." Okay, ma'am. The waiter wrote down Rick's bank account number on a small piece of paper. Lu Yen glanced at it and made a call. Transfer 83 million yuan to this account. 20 seconds later, the waiter received the order from the walkie-talkie. Then he said to the guests, "The boss just called and said he received the money for the drinks from this lady." Hearing this, the whole room exploded again. So much money for the drinks, he really paid for it. The woman with a big butt opposite her was dumbfounded. She didn't expect this ordinary-looking little girl in front of her to take out so much money. "Fat woman. Who's? Take off your clothes and go on the dance floor. You have to look good from the back." Lu Yen smiled with a toothpick in her mouth. "You must have colluded with the boss. I don't accept this." Then the fat woman turned to run away. How could she take off her clothes and go on the dance floor? After all, if she was photographed, how could she survive in the entertainment industry? But before she could take a few steps, Lu Yen threw out an iron hook and caught her silver dress. Then Lu Yen pulled hard and the dress opened from top to bottom with a tearing sound. The woman stood in the crowd in her skimpy clothes and felt ashamed. She squatted down and covered her face. "I don't like people who don't keep their promises. Either you fulfill your promise and go on the dance floor, or you take out 84 million yuan and we'll continue the bet." "Bodyguards. Where are my bodyguards? Kill this little bitch." Furious, the woman sent her bodyguards to beat Lu Yen. Before the two bodyguards could get close to Lu Yen's and Lu Yen's, it's a matter of course. The bar managers' bar's managers. The bar managers' bar's managers. Lu's a woman. Lu's Lu Yen didn't push her too far. After she got onto the stage, Lu Yen shook her head and pulled Xiao Fei away. "You still want to drink? Look at the time. I'm sleepy. I want to sleep." Xiao Fei threw a tantrum. "Hey, Mr. Qiao, let's go to bed." Lu Yen coaxed Xiao Fei in a good mood. After leaving the bar, they got into the sports car. "Did you see Su Yu? What kind of person is he?" Xiao Fei was curious. Chapter 4798. Lu Yen closed her eyes and recalled carefully. "How should I put it? He's not as hot-tempered as the rumors say. He doesn't seem to be in a good mood, but he really likes my sister." "How did you find out so much in such a short time?" Xiao Fei was puzzled. "Hey, who am I? I observed the details." "Okay, ancestor, you're the best. Drive, I want to sleep." Sleep together." Lu Yen always lied to Xiao Fei that he could eat meat, but all these years had passed. At most, Xiao Fei could drink a few mouthfuls of soup. Lu Yen was the type to enjoy life. With a fake passport, she booked a presidential suite in a 5-star hotel with Xiao Fei. There were many small rooms inside, but Xiao Fei squeezed in with her. Lu Yen pushed him to take a shower with a smile. However, when Xiao Fei came out of the shower, he looked at the bed and saw that Lu Yen was already asleep. He was so angry that he almost stomped his feet. Lu Yen was also tired. As soon as she got off the plane, she went out to cause trouble. She pretended to be a waiter and drank alcohol. He was really exhausted. As long as Xiao Fei was by her side, she could sleep well. Xiao Fei took off his bathrobe, revealing his smooth abs. He lay beside Lu Yen and quietly looked at her for a while. Then he hugged her and fell asleep, at the Hades mountain. Alai and Jinju ran all the way, not daring to rest. They knew the importance of the things in their hands. In the middle of the night, they broke through the array and went up the mountain. They thought that young Master Bai was already asleep. Unexpectedly, he was wearing a white cloak and waiting by the window. "Who is it?" Bai Shang's bodyguards were vigilant. "Tell your master that our boss is here to deliver wine." Why would he deliver wine in the middle of the night? You even broke the needle. You have evil intentions. Cut the crap. Tell Bai Shang to come out. We're here to deliver the goods. We don't want to start a massacre. Alai was too lazy to talk nonsense with these useless people. Just as the group was about to attack, Bai Shang walked out. "Young master." Bai Shang waved his hand and signaled for them to leave. "Young Master Bai, we're Mr. Lu's subordinates." Alai introduced himself. Bai Chang looked at them with disappointment in his eyes. Lu Yen didn't come. He thought that she would deliver the medicine herself. Alai carefully took out the sealed it. "This is my boss's idea. Please take it on time, young Master Bai." Bai Chang walked over and took the item with trembling hands. He knew what it was more than anyone else. When he was very young, his father had offered a large sum of money to buy it. Who knew that the Qiao family would not trade it for money? Over the years his father had tried many methods but to no avail. The only thing in the world that could cure his red fairy's poison was the tiger bone wine. Chapter 4799. Rather than saying that Lu Yen was in a good mood and liked this place, it was more like she liked her sister. Although they hadn't acknowledged each other, she still didn't want to leave. When All Lai and Jinju returned, Lu Yen received a text message. She knew it was Bai Chong who added 1 billion yuan to her account. She wondered what his voice sounded like after he learned how to speak. While eating breakfast, Lu Yen was still in a daze. Boss? Yeah. Lu Yen snapped back to reality. Are we still going to Hong Kong? The Liuhe gang is about to hold an election. Shouldn't you use your informant there? Alai reminded her. Don't worry. It's just a small gang. Even if I become the boss, I can't do anything. Lu Yen sipped her oatmeal milk. Boss, we've been here for almost 3 days. We should go somewhere else. Otherwise, your whereabouts will be exposed soon, Jinju reminded her. Yeah. We'll leave tonight. Xiao Fei didn't say anything. He didn't want to interfere with Lu Yan's business. Oh Fei, I'll show you a photo. Lu Yan thought of something and, on a whim, opened the virtual video on her watch before she finished her breakfast. Seeing that their boss wanted to talk about family matters, the two subordinates left. Xiao Fei glanced at it and saw it was another photo of Mion's sister. In the past few years, Lu Yan would show Xiao Fei every time she got a new photo. So just like Lu Yan, Xiao Fei had seen all of Huamin's photos. But he had never seen this one before. It was new. Did you take it secretly? He asked Lu Yan. Lu Yan shook her head. Then, did you get it from the surveillance cameras? Xiao Fei asked again. Lu Yan shook her head with a smile. You didn't ask my brother-in-law for it, did you? No. Let me tell you. I hacked into Su Yu's phone system and stole it. Huh, Xiao Fei, really? Xiao Fei was exasperated. When I saw this photo that night, I thought my sister was prettier. So I hacked into Su Yu's phone system and copied the screensaver. This is Su Yu's screensaver? Xiao Fei was surprised. Lu Yan nodded. Then he's really infatuated with Sister Mion. At this time, Su Yu already knew that Huamin was a married woman, so no matter how deep his love was, he buried it in his heart. For someone like Su Yu to use this photo as a screensaver, he must be very happy. Xiao Fei suddenly remembered that 2 years ago, at Lu Yan's 18th coming-of-age ceremony, she was hunted down. Therefore, Lu Yan stayed low-key in her base, which was the island that couldn't be found on the map. At that time, only he and Professor Lu were present. Seeing Lu Yan put on the white princess gown, Xiao Fei felt like no woman in the world was as beautiful as Lu Yan. Then he disobeyed Lu Yan's order and took photos of her. Coincidentally, it was the picture of her smiling sweetly. Later, this photo became the only proof he had whenever he missed Lu Yan. Therefore, Xiao Fei could understand Su Yu's love. However, Xiao Fei was much luckier than Su Yu. Xiao Fei and Lu Yan loved each other. On the other hand, Su Yu and Huamin loved each other. After breakfast, Lu Yan secretly went to South Side to see her sister. Even though she was far away, she was still very happy. In the afternoon, Lu Yan had a video conference in her room to organize her subordinates' whereabouts and missions. At 10 p.m. that night, Lu Yan and Xiao Fei went downstairs to get on the plane and leave. As soon as they got downstairs, they saw a man in a white suit. He was standing in the lobby. He had taken off his ancient costume and put on a modern black suit, which made his white suit look more mysterious. Hey little mute. What a coincidence. Lu Yan walked over to greet him with a smile. However, Boss healed his throat, so it's only right for him to give his entire fortune to Boss. Alai said. Sure enough, Lu Yan came back with a suitcase. After getting into the car, Xiao Fei immediately ordered, "Drive." Pervert Xiao, this is a local product that someone gave me. Here, it's for you. After getting into the car, Lu Yan immediately coaxed Xiao Fei. He came all the way here to give it to you personally. Xiao Fei said sourly. You're so jealous. Hey, don't be jealous. Let's leave, okay? Lu Yan coaxed. Xiao Fei still ignored her. If you're still angry, I'll get out of the car. I'm going to eat steak with Bai Chong. Lu Yan pretended to get out of the car. Xiao Fei immediately panicked. How dare you? Chapter 48:01. Then are you still angry? Seeing Lu Yen point at his lips with her finger, Xiao Fei blushed slightly. I'm not angry. Really? Lu Yen didn't believe him. Really? Then give yourself a punch. Xiao Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Why don't I kiss you instead? In your dreams, as soon as Lu Yen said that, Xiao Fei kissed her on the cheek. He did it on purpose and even got some saliva on her face. You disgusting guy. Your face is covered in saliva. Lu Yen put down the box in her hand and punched him. The other two pretended not to know anything. Alai even laughed. How dare you laugh? Jump over here and help me punch him, Lu Yen roared. Boss, I didn't see anything. What happened just now? Alai asked with a smile. Lu Yen, they fooled around all the way and left the car behind. Someone came to take it away. Lu Yen and the others got on the private plane. Boss, where are we going now? Home. Lu Yan's home referred to her old home, the uninhabited island. But we're going back so soon. Alai obviously hadn't had enough fun. Lu Yen crossed her legs and glared at him. If you don't want to go back, you can go to North Korea and get some goods for me. Ahem. Jinju is more suitable for this kind of thing. He's from North Korea. Hearing that he was going to North Korea, Alai immediately gave up. I'm not going either. Although Jinju was from North Korea, he didn't want to go back to that magical country. Only Lu Yen knew what had happened and Jinju didn't mention his past again. Xiao Fei didn't care where he went, but he liked Lu Yan's island. He felt like it was a paradise and peaceful. 3 hours after the plane took off, Lu Yen remembered the specialties Bai Chong gave her. She picked up the foam box and tore open the tape with her bare hands. She found that the top layer was actually wild vegetables. Lu Yen didn't know the name of these wild vegetables. But soon she found a clue and put the wild vegetables aside. Only then did he realize that the wild vegetables were just a cover. In fact, it was for the thing below. Layer by layer, the lush green mountain vegetables were pushed aside. What was wrapped in the middle was actually a painting. Wow. Boss, you're rich again. This must be a priceless antique. Hurry and see which dynasty it's from. Alai said excitedly. Jinju also started to gossip. It's said that the Bai family has always had a lot of treasures. They are indeed a family of smugglers. Their first move is an antique. Lu Yen didn't speak, but she didn't refute her subordinate's words. After all, she had seen the priceless blue and white porcelain in Bai Chang's room. Therefore she also thought that it was an antique painting. Perhaps it was a master-level flower like Su Dongpa or Qi Baisher. But when she unrolled the scroll, Lu Yen was dumbfounded. It was a painting of a beauty. The beauty in the painting was wearing a cheongsam, revealing a pair of long legs. It was very sexy. He was even holding an umbrella. The painting was extremely detailed. Even the specks of rain were drawn clearly. This is me? Lu Yen asked. Alai and Jinju also looked at the person in the painting, then looked at Boss. His boss. This kid actually drew me. This painting is good. Lu Yen stood up and smiled. Xiao Fei's face turned cold again. What a strong love rival. It was fine if he couldn't speak before, but now that he could, even his flirting skills had improved. Hurry up and comment. Is his painting better or am I better? Lu Yen asked excitedly after circling the painting 3 times. The painting and the person are both extremely ugly, Xiao Fei said word by word. Then the air instantly froze. Chapter 48:02. Lu Yen instantly grabbed Xiao Fei's neck with both hands. Tell me, how do you want to die? I want to die from pleasure. Xiao Fei actually said these 4 words very seriously. Lu Yen almost laughed out loud. Jinju and Alai's faces turned red, but they didn't dare to laugh out loud, afraid that their boss would skin them alive. In the end, Lu Yen laughed. Are you serious? Very serious. Just say you're jealous. You're jealous when someone drew me a beauty portrait. You're the king of jealousy. Yeah. You don't like to be jealous. Xiao Fei looked at Lu Yen. Yeah. I'm always generous. How can I be jealous? Lu Yen raised her chin. Then who spent 80 million yuan at Seductive Fox last night? To be jealous of a fat woman. Lu Yen, damn it. You're touching my sore spot. Do you believe that I'll kick you off the plane right now? Then you'll be a widow. Why would I be a widow? I'm not married to you yet. Young man, don't be so arrogant. Lu Yen reached out and pinched Qiao Fei's face. Only Lu Yen dared to do such a naughty and difficult action. If it were someone else, they would have been dead by now. So, in the eyes of Lu Yan's subordinates, even if their boss bickered with young Master Qiao, it was still a show of love. What are you two still doing here? Have you had enough dog food? Lu Yen turned around and looked at Alai and Jinju. It's okay. I'm quite full. Alai nodded. Do you like it? Lu Yen asked with a chuckle. It's okay. I've been with you for years and got used to it. Alai thought that their boss's dog food wasn't that good, right? Lu Yen had only been in Sea City for 3 days. During these 3 days she only went to 2 places: Southside Recuperation Center and Seductive Fox. Rick had a background in the mafia, so he wouldn't be confused if someone suddenly spent 80 million yuan on him overnight. In the Seductive Fox nightclub, Rick leaned back in his chair and watched the surveillance video. Lu Yen changed her clothes in a blind spot and couldn't see it. But Rick knew what to do with his subordinates. For now, Rick ordered. Yes, boss. Enlarge this image for me. As the image zoomed in, a girl wearing a waitress uniform appeared. Who is this person? Is she the new waitress? His subordinate was also confused. Are you sure? Rick raised his head coldly. I'm not sure. I'll get someone from the HR department to take a look. 5 minutes later, the HR department had already confirmed that this person had never been employed before, which meant that this woman had appeared out of nowhere. His appearance was very ordinary. She was also the one who had provoked the fat woman in the bar. At that time, she had already taken off her waitress uniform. Rick wasn't familiar with this face, so he couldn't find it even after checking the information. But the silver-haired man beside this woman, Rick narrowed his eyes as if he had thought of something. Qiao Fei was here? So the woman beside him could only be Lu Yen. Thinking of this, Rick's heart gradually turned cold. Who was Lu Yen? Wherever he went, he would kill. She was the famous king of mercenaries. Was she here to kill someone? Aside from gambling, she also watched the surveillance video and went to the private room on the top floor. Did she see Suyu? Did she want to kill Suyu? At this thought, Rick was shocked again. Chapter 4803. Lu Yen was extremely beautiful. She must be in disguise, unlike what she looked like in the surveillance video. But the only person Qiao Fei could be so inseparable from was Lu Yen. Rick thought about it carefully and didn't receive any news that Suyu was in danger. If Lu Yen wanted to kill him, Suyu would have died last night. He couldn't figure out Lu Yen's motive. But hearing that she had left, Rick was completely relieved. Guards. His boss. Return the 83 million that came in last night. The same way as it came. Boss. This. His subordinates didn't seem to understand their boss's move. They thought it would be stupid not to make money. Do as I say. Rick didn't explain further and carried out his orders. Yes, boss. On the private plane, Lu Yen leaned against Qiao Fei's chest and played games. It was one of Qiao Fei's favorite games. The game was a bit boring and monotonous. But the good thing about it was that you could never reach the end of the level. So, whenever Qiao Fei was bored, he would take it out to play a few levels. It was a good way to kill time. Seeing him enjoying the game, Lu Yen joined in. She snatched the game from Qiao Fei's hands and leaned into his chest as if he was her sofa. Qiao Fei enjoyed it. If there was someone in the world who dared to have intimate contact with Lu Yen, then it must be him. Ding. A message appeared on Lu Yen's watch. Text message. Qiao Fei reminded her. Look at it for me. Lu Yen continued playing the game without a care. Qiao Fei unlocked the password, opened the message and said, "The 83 million yuan you spent last night has been refunded." But Lu Yen didn't seem surprised at all. He just smiled. Rick. He's a good person. It's good that he didn't dare to take it. Have you ever dealt with the Chris family? Qiao Fei wasn't familiar with Rick's family. It was the biggest Chinese mafia family in the US. Rick's brother was in charge of many mafia businesses. We don't have much contact with each other. The Chris family is very low-key and Rick is even more low-key. However, he's still one of us. He's brother-in-law's brother. Lu Yen knew the relationship between Rick and Qin Chu. That was why she didn't go to other bars when she wanted to spend a lot of money on drinks. However, he would rather give the money to Rick's bar. After all, the money did not flow out. She didn't expect Rick to be so obedient. As soon as he found out it was Lu Yan's money, he went back the way he came. This comforted Lu Yan. If she had any contact with the Chris family in the future, she would definitely return the favor. Qiao Fei wasn't interested in Lu Yan's business. He was never interested in her business. Instead, he stared at the painting of a beauty in the corner. Little Yan. There's no toilet paper in the toilet. So, Lu Yan put down her cell phone and looked up at him. Lend me your portrait of beauty, he said in a formal tone. Fuck you. Lu Yan really wanted to beat him to death. She didn't even think about using her portrait of beauty to wipe his ass. Qiao Fei indeed didn't like the painting. After all, it was such a blatant confession to Lu Yan. It made him feel uncomfortable. The plane slowly landed on Lu Yan's private island. As soon as Lu Yan's plane landed, her subordinates immediately came to greet her. Dozens of people stood in 2 rows. Lu Yan jumped off the plane and jumped over the stairs that were 3 or 4 meters high. She took off her windbreaker and threw it on the thin and white sand beach. Feels good to be home. Welcome home, boss. Good boy. Your lady boss is back too. Lu Yan pointed at Qiao Fei behind her mischievously. Everyone. Chapter 4804. Qiao Fei was used to Lu Yan's teasing. He didn't speak and followed Lu Yan silently. They walked into Lu Yan's residential area. It was a beautiful mansion. The windows were all transparent glass, and it faced the sea and flowers bloomed in spring. Because of the latitude of the island, there was no winter. It was always 30 degrees all year round. Therefore the two of them quickly changed into cool clothes. Lu Yan was wearing a bohemian dress with floral patterns and a straw hat. She looked very tall and classy. Qiao Fei was simpler. He wore blue shorts and a white short-sleeved shirt. From afar he looked like a sunny young man. Except for Lu Yan, no one else had ever seen him smile. After showering and changing clothes, a maid handed Qiao Fei an iced coconut. Qiao Fei had just inserted the straw when Lu Yan ran over and sucked in a big mouthful. Is there anyone more shameless than you in the world? Qiao Fei asked. I don't think so. So, you should feel lucky that you have the world's limited edition version of me. Narcissistic Lu Yan turned around and walked out of the room. I'm going to a meeting. Are you coming? No. I'm going out to sea to fish. Hey, I want to drink fish soup. Good luck, madam. Lu Yan made a cheering gesture. Qiao Fei was speechless. They had a tacit understanding. After returning to the island, they went their separate ways. Lu Yan went to assign tasks and deal with the work at hand. Qiao Fei went out to sea to fish with his subordinates. They went out until the sun set. Qiao Fei returned with all kinds of seafood on his boat. Well, young Master Qiao, you're awesome. Are we having a seafood feast tonight? Alai was a bit excited. Although the island was boring, these homeless people had long regarded it as their home. So they had a strong sense of belonging. They thought that there was no competition here, no need to kill or worry about being killed. Although their boss had a bad temper, she never mistreated them. She would have seafood feasts from time to time, such as seaside barbecue. Some of Lu Yan's subordinates already had families and lived here in seclusion with their families. There was a rule in Lu Yan's mercenary group. Once they got married and had families, they would leave the mercenary group. Once they got married, they would leave the mercenary group and become logistics personnel. No more missions, no more killing, no more dangerous things. However, because they had made many enemies when they were young, they did not dare to go out. Therefore they could only settle down here and live in seclusion. Lu Yan only assigned some odd jobs to those who were married. Here they built houses, watered flowers, fished, transported goods, planted fruits and so on. Although Lu Yan gave each of them a pension of $10,000 a month, they didn't need the money at all. Life was very comfortable. Some of them even had children. The island was full of joy and harmony. This group of people was not at all like the rumors outside, that they were homicidal maniacs. Like a tourist, Lu Yan took photos of them with her SLR camera. Boss, the crabs are ready. And this grilled prawns. Young Master Qiao is amazing today. This prawn is a rare species, but the meat is very good. Boss, eat more. Alai came over with a tray and placed the grilled prawns and steamed crabs before Lu Yan and Qiao Fei. Don't be so busy. Go and eat. Let me know if you need anything. Alai jogged away and drank beer with his brothers. Looking at the happy scene on the island, Lu Yen sighed. Fei, if something happens to me one day, I'll leave them to you. You have to continue taking care of them for me. Qiao Fei's heart tightened when he heard this. Chapter 4805. To her surprise, Qiao Fei shook his head firmly. That's impossible. Don't count on me. Lu Yen glanced at the man leaning against her back. What? You're gone? If I die, you won't care about my people? Psycho Qiao, how can you be so heartless? Do you think I'll marry you when you're like this? It's a risk. Then Lu Yen grabbed Qiao Fei's ears with both hands. Qiao Fei looked into Lu Yen's eyes quietly, not joking at all. If you die, I won't live alone either. So you asked me to take care of them. I can't fulfill your wish. Lu Yan's body shook when she heard his words. Fei, she would be lying if she said she wasn't touched. But Lu Yan was such a person. Even if she was touched, she wouldn't cry. After all these years, her heart had become as hard as a rock. She wouldn't be as emotional as Hua Min. I'm not joking. I'm serious. So Yan, you must live well. Because as long as you live, I'll live as long as you live. Oh, so I'll stop joking with you. You're so emotional. Lu Yan blushed. She let go of Qiao Fei and jumped down from his arms. The fearless Lu Yan was afraid of Qiao Fei's words of love. Jumping down from his arms, Lu Yan ran toward her buddies not far away. When the group of males with excessive hormones saw their boss coming over, they became even more excited and raised their cups to drink to their heart's content. Loud voices came from not far away. The men asked in unison, "Who's the most beautiful woman in the world?" Then Alai stood on a stool and raised a bottle of cold beer, shouting, "I'm the most beautiful woman in the world." Lu Yan laughed so hard that she almost spat out the beer in her mouth. Then she yelled, "I don't know if I'm the most beautiful woman in the world. But I'm sure you guys are the best bootlickers in the world." At this moment, there were no more fights on the island, no more cheating, no more traps, and no more bombs that could explode at any moment. It was Lu Yan who had built a pure land here, a peaceful kingdom. He wanted to give this group of people who had no one to rely on an eternal home. Qiao Fei put his arms behind his head as a pillow. Then he lay on the bench and looked up at the sky. After sunset, the beach became even more gorgeous. The sun had already disappeared behind the clouds. It even brought with it a touch of golden red at the edge of the dark clouds. Seagulls flew past in twos and threes. Listening to the sound of the rising and falling tides, there were no more distracting thoughts in his heart. Qiao Fei used to think that Lu Yan was his woman, his love, and his life partner. Even now they still felt that Lu Yan was their god and their faith. He was someone who could bring them peace and tranquility. That was why his woman was so dazzling. No matter what happened in the future, whether or not Lu Yan was still the most wanted criminal of Interpol and the #1 target of terrorists, Lu Yan was still the most wanted criminal of Interpol. He would protect her for the rest of her life. Until they left this world. Alai was drunk. He came over with 2 bottles of wine and handed one to Qiao Fei. Qiao Fei stood up. Alai was a little muffled. "Young Master Qiao, come, let's have a toast. Today was really fun." Qiao Fei took it obediently. Speaking of which, Qiao Fei wasn't very familiar with Lu Yan's subordinates because he had always been a man of few words. Even if he stood here as Lu Yan's fiancé, he still didn't show off or stand out. "Young Master Qiao, I'm a servant. There are some things that I know I shouldn't ask. But today, with the help of alcohol, I want to ask you something on behalf of our boss." "Go ahead." "His heart aches for me, and he wants to help me get some knockout drugs, so that he can rape you tonight." "Bullshit, are you serious? That little bastard dares to say that?" Lu Yan obviously didn't believe him. "Well, I think that's a good idea. Why don't we give it a try?" Qiao Fei smiled. "Test your ass. You better get rid of those messy thoughts." Qiao Fei sighed slightly. He took Lu Yan's little hand and rubbed it in his palm. "Yan, when the time comes, you'll fall to the ground. You're a little white melon that's almost ripe. If you don't let me pick you, you'll fall to the ground and become a rotten melon. That's a fucking analogy. If you want to fucking sleep with me, just say it. Don't use an analogy with me." "Yes, I want to fuck you. So what? Do you dare?" Qiao Fei used the most clumsy method to provoke her. Chapter 4807. Normally Lu Yan wouldn't be fooled, but today she was drunk. Moreover, Lu Yan didn't have any scruples in her own territory, so she was in high spirits and drank a few more glasses. Qiao Fei provoked her and she immediately jumped into the trap. Fine, I'm not afraid of you. Choose the place. Say the beach, the bedroom, the ammunition depot, or the tower. Qiao Fei, forget about the ammunition depot and the tower. It's not safe. We don't want the beach either. There are so many people. Let's go back to the room and take our time. Qiao Fei smiled sweetly. Okay, let's go. Whoever backs off today is a coward, Lu Yan said boldly and threw herself into Qiao Fei's arms. Then the two of them left. Everyone was well aware of what was going on between the two of them. Some of them even thought that the two of them had slept together. Only his bodyguard, Duke Aeljin, knew that young Master Qiao was suffering because he hadn't had sex yet. Along the way, Qiao Fei was a little excited, although he knew that he would have sex with her sooner or later. But the earlier he ate, the better. In fact, he was conflicted with every step he took, afraid that Lu Yan would change her mind at the last minute. It wasn't like she hadn't done this before. In Lu Yan's private mansion, Qiao Fei carried her to the top floor. The two of them didn't have time to take a shower or even take off their clothes. Qiao Fei released the primordial force that he had been holding in for too long and pounced on her. Lu Yan didn't dare to show weakness. She was originally on the bottom, but she suddenly flipped over and stood on top. The two of them kissed passionately. Qiao Fei felt as if there was a ball of fire burning in his body. His big hand was placed on Lu Yan's waist, but before he could pull open the bow tie of her dress, Lu Yan's watch rang. It was very inappropriate, and not at the right time. But he still had to pick it up, because those who could dial Lu Yan's watch must have important things to do and no one would gossip. Sure enough, Lu Yan pushed Qiao Fei away and suddenly stood up. Then she pressed the virtual call button. Boss, bad news. Ian's men just attacked the professor's house in Miami. Isn't Dad in LA? Lu Yan frowned slightly. 4 hours ago, the professor secretly went to Miami with 2 bodyguards. I don't know what they were going to do, but Ian's men went there in 3 trucks with heavy weapons. One of the 2 bodyguards was killed and the other was injured. The situation is critical. Where are our people? Anxious, Lu Yan jumped up and walked to the window. Most of our people are in South Africa. There are only 2 here. I just transferred them over. They can hold them off for a while. But their firepower is too strong. I'm afraid. Lu Yan's heart sank. At this moment, no matter how anxious he was, it was impossible to quench his immediate thirst. Even if they took off now, it would take 7 or 8 hours to reach Miami. At this moment, Qiao Fei walked up behind her. My men are over there. You do? Lu Yan looked back with surprise in her eyes. Saving people is more important. I'll make a call. As he spoke, he picked up his personal cell phone and made a call. After putting down the phone, he patted Lu Yan's shoulder. They'll be here soon. Don't worry. Uncle Lu will be fine. Fei, how come you have forces in Miami? Lu Yan was so happy that she kissed Qiao Fei's face. Qiao Nan has been very close to some black organizations in the US. In the past 3 years, I've arranged people and spies in all the places he's in contact with. Holy shit. That's awesome. My third young master Qiao, Lu Yan praised. Don't give me that. Now that the problem is solved, shall we continue? Qiao Fei said with a straight face. Chapter 4808. Hearing Qiao Fei's reminder, Lu Yan coughed awkwardly. Ahem, you're not going to. Qiao Fei rolled his eyes. I. Lu Yan was thinking of an excuse. You just said that whoever goes back on his word is a coward, Qiao Fei said. Hello, Grandpa Qiao. Qiao Fei, look at how beautiful the moon is tonight. Do you want to continue drinking? I have a bottle of 100-year-old peach blossom wine. Do you know how much it costs outside? 30 million yuan a bottle. I bought it from the top winemaker in the country. Do you want to drink it? After being disrupted by the phone call, Lu Yan was no longer in the mood to continue drinking. She was sober from the alcohol, so she suggested to continue drinking. Qiao Fei didn't want to ruin her mood, so he nodded. Okay. Come and get the wine. Bring me my bottle of peach blossom wine. Also get some side dishes. Yes, boss. 20 minutes later. On the top floor of Lu Yan's private residence, The two of them were drinking on the exquisite Japanese-style tatame. This was the highest place on the entire island, and the top floor was made of transparent glass, giving them a perfect view of the stars and the moon. A bottle of wine and 4 exquisite side dishes. Lu Yan was in the mood to coax Qiao Fei. She took the initiative to fill his glass. Then she purposely imitated the coquettish voice of online streamers and said in a coquettish voice, "Baby, don't be mad at me, okay? If you talk to me like this, I'll throw up." Qiao Fei was still serious. "You're a bitch. You want to throw up when I talk to you like a spoiled child, right? Then I'll talk to you with force from now on." Qiao Fei smiled but didn't say anything. He raised his glass and sipped. Lu Yan looked at the man opposite her. In her heart, her man had always been excellent. He was handsome, good at fighting, quiet and low-key. He fit her requirements perfectly. Most importantly, they had been childhood sweethearts for many years. She had known Qiao Fei longer than her sister and brother-in-law, which was one of the reasons why she was proud of him. "Fei, all these years have I never told you what the thing in my father's hand is?" "Shoo." Qiao Fei knew what she wanted to say, but he didn't want Lu Yan to open her mouth. Lu Yan smiled with the wine glass in her hand. "Don't worry. This room is equipped with the latest anti-eavesdropping system developed by my dad. Even the most advanced countries can't crack it." Then she smiled bitterly. "Sometimes I really hate my dad. Say he's an old man in his old age. Instead of enjoying his retirement, what's the use of studying those lousy things? Look at those old people in our country. After they retire, they play chess and drink tea all day long. They can even go square dancing and flirt with beautiful aunties. How magical is that kind of life?" Qiao Fei was speechless. He, on the other hand, talks about bombs all day long. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm a bomb spirit created by him," Lu Yan said. Qiao Fei almost burst out laughing. "Hold it in, don't laugh. I'm serious. If my dad chose to live like an ordinary person, would I be able to? I might still be in some ordinary city in China, going to a third-rate university, having an obedient boyfriend, and then go to the KTV every few days to howl." Then Lu Yan drank a glass of wine gloomily. "Yan, I'll definitely give you a normal life like that." Every time Lu Yan complained about how hard life was, Qiao Fei's heart ached for her. "Don't coax me. I know I'm a person with no tomorrow. Maybe I'll die at any time." Lu Yan smiled. Chapter 4809. Don't talk nonsense. After Qiao Fei said those words, he used his actions to prove how much he cared. He gently kissed Lu Yan's mouth. It was a really gentle kiss. Lu Yan was stunned by the sudden kiss. Then when she regained her senses, she responded passionately. Although she had never been nice to Qiao Fei, or rather she always tortured him. However, Lu Yan had only loved one man in her life and she had no intention of changing him. She had always known how Qiao Fei felt about her all these years. He even took care of her more than the professor. During those years, Lu Yan was injured, hospitalized, had surgery, got shot, and had to deal with the difficulties of establishing the mercenary group. Qiao Fei had accompanied her through many difficult times. She would never give up on this love that would go through thick and thin together, and she would never give it up. If possible, she really wanted to be with him for the rest of her life. She would never have to live that kind of life again. Midnight, Sea City. At South Hill Manor. When Lu Yan woke up, she was very depressed. It had been almost 3 months since she left Qiao Fei. Yes, ever since she came back to save her sister and was hit by the dream creator's nightmare. The Qiao Fei in the dream had always been fake, a dream creator in disguise. She was smart enough to see through it. In the end, Su Yu's sacrifice allowed everyone to escape from the nightmare. Humin was sad for Su Yu and Lu Yan was sad for Qiao Fei. Because Qiao Fei was missing. For more than 3 months, ever since Lu Yan woke up from the nightmare, there had been no news of him. Her people had been looking for him all over the world. The Qiao family in Russia had been turned upside down. At first, Lu Yan thought that old Master Qiao was unhappy with her being with Qiao Fei, so he had imprisoned his son. Later she realized that the Qiao family was also looking for Qiao Fei. Only then did she know that he was really missing. In her dreams, she had dreamed countless times of them kissing passionately on that private island. When she woke up, she still felt Qiao Fei's unique warmth on her lips. However, Lu Yan knew that this was a dream. She got out of bed gloomily. This was the guest bedroom of Huamin's South Hill Manor. She was barefoot and walked softly. She lit a cigarette as she walked. He was different from Huamin. Huamin only smoked when he was depressed. Lu Yan never smoked, she only liked to carry cigarettes with her. Because the smoke could cover her scent, even if it was the smell of blood from her injuries, it would not be easily discovered by her opponent. It was Lu Yan's first time smoking. She didn't know how to smoke, so she coughed after taking a puff. Although she tried her best to suppress her voice, Huamin woke up. Huamin gently got up. Qin Chu patted her back and said, "Put on your jacket. It's cold outside. Comfort Yan well." "Yes." Huamin nodded and walked out of the bedroom. She saw Lu Yan leaning against the wall in the hallway, looking dispirited. "Sis, did I wake you up? Can't sleep." Huamin walked over and leaned against the wall with her. "Yeah. I dreamed of Qiao Fei." Lu Yan smiled. Huamin didn't speak. Lu Yan took out a thin cigarette and handed it to Huamin. "Do you want one?" "Okay." Huamin took it and lit it skillfully. Then he took a puff. "Sis, do you think he's all ready?" "He's not." Huamin knew what she was going to say. People were all like this. When they encountered difficulties, they couldn't help but think pessimistically. Even Lu Yan was no exception. She had never been so agitated before, including when Qiao Fei was shot and was about to die. Chapter 48:10. That time she knew that Qiao Fei wouldn't die. He had a father, sister, and brother-in-law. The three masters in the family wouldn't let anything happen to Qiao Fei. But this time Qiao Fei disappeared, or rather lost contact with her. For 3 whole months there was no news from him. Before, when Qiao Fei wasn't with her, they wouldn't see each other for 2 months at most. But he would video call her every day, almost never missing a day. So Lu Yan was used to contacting Qiao Fei every day. She couldn't get used to the sudden interruption. "Sis, he would never stop contacting me, because he's afraid that I'll be worried. If he's still alive and in this world, he wouldn't have stopped contacting me for more than 100 days, even to let me know that he's safe. I'm not pessimistic, I just think he might really be gone." Lu Yan lowered her head, her voice hoarse. She wanted to cry, but no tears came out. When people were in extreme sorrow, they couldn't cry. Because their minds were blank, they couldn't think. Huamin understood Lu Yan's feelings, because she had experienced Qin Chu's plane crash and didn't come back for 4 years. "And I know how you feel. Qin Chu also disappeared and no one found his body. For 4 whole years I didn't give up. Do you know what kind of faith it is? You've only been gone for 3 months, don't be so pessimistic." "Sis, I'm so scared." Lu Yan threw away the unfinished cigarette butt and it fell to the ground. Then she threw herself into Huamin's arms. She was such a strong person, but at this moment she needed a warm embrace to heal herself. Huamin's heart ached. Afraid that the cigarette in his hand would burn her, he quickly threw away his cigarette butt. He stepped on it and gently hugged Lu Yan. "Listen to me, Yan. We're not that weak, so don't be defeated by everything in front of you. I'm the best example. I spent 4 years waiting for Qin Chu to come back. I believe Fei is still alive. He's still waiting for you, waiting to grow old with you. If I can see Fei again, I'll marry him and have children with him immediately." Lu Yan looked up with tears in her eyes. Huamin nodded. Then came Lu Yan's silent sobs and Huamin's endless heartache. Lu Yan was very sad about Qiao Fei's disappearance. After all, even with Lu Yan's strength, she couldn't find him, which made people feel pessimistic. But who knew that Qiao Fei was only missing? After all, there was still hope for him to come back alive. But Suyu, in order to save everyone, Suyu really stayed in the nightmare realm forever. Although he tried his best not to think about it, the slightest thought of it would cause him to feel pain. Huamin felt as if millions of silver needles were stabbing his heart, making him want to die. After comforting Lu Yan for a while, Huamin watched her go back to her room quietly. Relieved, he returned to the master bedroom. When she returned, Qin Chu had already gotten up. Looking at the time, it was 1 in the morning. Qin Chu poured a cup of warm water for Huamin and handed it to him. "Honey, why aren't you sleeping? I'm worried about you too. How's Yan?" Qin Chu asked. "She's not doing well. She thinks Fei is dead." Huamin sighed slightly. "He definitely can't if he's dead. I feel like he was kidnapped." "Oh? Honey, do you have any clues?" Huamin leaned over and sat on the edge of the bed. Holding Qinchu's arm, he looked excited. Chapter 48:11. Qinchu looked at Huamin guiltily. I don't have any clues. It's just a guess. Huamin's eyes dimmed. Yes, if even Lu Yan couldn't find him, who else in the world could? You're not in good health. Go to bed early. Rick and I are investigating Fei's case. If we have any news, we'll inform Yan immediately. Huamin didn't want Qinchu to worry, so he went to bed obediently. After giving birth to Qin Guoguo, Huamin's body hadn't been in good health. The main reason was that she had cried too much during the confinement period, which left some hidden injuries in her eyes, and she didn't have enough blood. Therefore, it had been almost 3 months since she gave birth, but her body had been weak. It was worse than when she gave birth to the twins. After the baby was born, Qinchu's parents and a nursery nurse took care of him. Huamin couldn't get over Suyu for a long time, so he fell seriously ill. Qinchu could understand Lu Yan's feelings, but his heart ached for his wife. So after coaxing Huamin to sleep, Qinchu called Rick, who was far away in the States. Rick had been in a semi-retired state ever since Cece gave birth to Jean. Like Qinchu, Rick had become a slave to his daughter. He wasn't willing to take on any business in the underworld and lived a semi-retired life. If Qinchu didn't need his help, he really wanted to be an ordinary father. Qinchu contacted Rick again, and the two analyzed the scattered clues before Qiao Fei went missing. Until midnight, at 6 a.m., Lu Yan ran down the mountain from South Hill Manor to Su Yu's former private mansion. The journey was at least 30 miles long. But who was Lu Yan? Her physique was even better than that of a Special Forces soldier. She was wearing a white Nike sportswear, a black baseball cap and white running shoes. And heard someone knock on the door and opened it in a daze. He was slightly surprised when he saw Lu Yan. Goddess Lu Yan. I'm so hungry. Is there breakfast? I will do it right away. With that, and turned around and ran into the kitchen. After Su Yu fell into a coma, Shaoan stayed by his side and refused to leave. Su Yu's house was now slightly empty. In the beginning, everyone would come every day, but later no one was willing to come anymore. It was not because she had forgotten about Su Yu, but because she missed him too much. Therefore no one dared to come. Lu Yan ran to find him, and was the only person she was familiar with here other than her sister's family. He wanted to freeload breakfast. Just then Lu Yan's watch lit up. She received a mysterious text message. Do you want to see him? Follow the address, one person. Lu Yan panicked and left Su Yu's house without saying goodbye. Following the address, Lu Yan came to an abandoned ship factory by the sea in a remote part of Sea City. Then every few minutes she would receive a mysterious text message. She followed the text message and kept walking. She walked to the top of the abandoned ship. Then she saw a black suitcase. When she saw it, Lu Yan's heart sank. Then a huge sense of panic spread from the bottom of her heart. At this moment, the mysterious text message came again. Open it. The person you want to see is inside. But I promise you'll never forget it. Lu Yan didn't dare to open it. The scene was too familiar. She was especially afraid that it contained Qiao Fei's body. She raised her hand and scanned the suitcase with her watch, eliminating the danger of a bomb. Then she walked toward the suitcase step by step. After 10 seconds of silence, Lu Yan opened it with both hands. It was empty. Then a familiar voice sounded behind her. Hey silly girl, I'm here. The person was wearing a navy blue Russian military uniform. He had short silver hair and was holding a black phone in his hand. Lu Yan turned around abruptly. The moment she saw clearly, tears streamed down her face. Lu Yan's narration. Chapter 48:12. According to our station, Ni Yang, who retired from the music industry for more than 10 years, flew back to China early this morning. He was accompanied by his wife, Qin Jia. Qin Zhaozhao, one of the heirs of the GK Corporation and the youngest member of the board of directors, was in charge of picking them up. Will GK make any big moves in the future? Let's wait and see if Ni Yang will make a comeback for GK. A female anchorwoman's report came from a black Rolls-Royce. Everyone in the car laughed. Sitting in the passenger seat was a girl who was about 17 or 18 years old. She was very pretty. Her long, slightly curly hair was the color of coffee. Her eyes were the same as Qin Chu's, and her looks were also the essence of Qin Chu and Huomin's. The corners of her lips curled up slightly. Uncle Enai Yang is already so old, yet he's still making a comeback. These domestic media outlets are really unscrupulous in order to attract attention. They dare to write anything. Enai Yang was in the back seat. Although he was almost 40 years old, he took good care of himself. He put his hand on Qinjie's hand and looked at the familiar scenery outside the window. He sighed. I haven't been back in a long time. How's my sister? Pudding nodded. Mom, she's fine. Where's Little Bean? She's doing an internship at Southside and helping out Mom. Enai Yang sighed. I didn't expect one of you to go into business and the other to study medicine. I thought you two would always be little princesses. Uncle Enai Yang, you haven't seen my brother yet, right? Enai Yang was in a good mood when he heard Pudding's words. Yeah, I've lived overseas for many years and rarely come back. I only met your parents 5 years ago in Australia. As for your brother, I've only seen his photo, but I've never seen him in person. Then you're in luck this time. He was studying abroad in the UK, but this is our coming-of-age ceremony, so he came back early. You'll be able to see him soon. Qinjie was excited and couldn't suppress the joy in her heart. Great, I'll be able to see everyone again. The car slowly drove into South Hill Manor. Qin Chu and Huomin were already prepared and waiting at the door. Ever since Enai Yang went abroad, he rarely came back. Enai Yang and Qinjie's daughter had grown up and was only a few years younger than Pudding and Little Bean. However, because he went to the summer camp with the school this time, it was a pity that he couldn't make it. The car slowly stopped in front of South Hill Manor. Qinjie got out of the car and ran towards Huomin. Sister Mia. He gave Huomin a big hug. Huomin still liked to dress plainly. She wore a plain-colored dress and her long hair reached her shoulders. There was a faint smile on his face. The corners of his eyes showed signs of age. On the other hand, Qin Chu didn't change much. He was still as handsome as ever. Standing beside Huomin, the two looked like a natural couple. Sis, you're still the same. You look the same as when I saw you 5 years ago. Enai Yang smiled. Brat, you're the only one who knows how to talk. Did you see the news? Everyone in China is saying that you're going to make a comeback, Huomin joked. Enai Yang laughed. Sure, I'll sign with GK when I make a comeback. After all, you're the biggest media company now. What do you think, brother-in-law? Enai Yang looked at Qin Chu. The corners of Qin Chu's lips curled up slightly. I can't make the decision. You can ask our president Qin. Qin Chu looked at Pudding. Pudding put her arm around Enai Yang's shoulder from behind and said playfully, Uncle Enai Yang, if you sign with my company, I'll definitely give you the best treatment. But if you want to make a comeback, will your wife agree? Chapter 48:13. Hey, stop fooling around. Go inside and rest. Huomin smiled and invited Enai Yang and Qinjie into the house. Pudding turned around and walked out. Mom, I have something to do at the company. I need to go take care of it. Okay, when you come back from work, pick up your sister at Southside, Huomin instructed. I'm going to pick up Little Bean. What about Qin Guokua? Who's going to pick him up? Pudding asked. I'll pick him up, Huomin said. I'll go, Qin Chu said. You two are so biased. Pudding was picky, so she turned around and walked away. Pudding and Little Bean turned 18 this year. Therefore, the Qin family, which hadn't been so lively in a long time, decided to hold a grand coming-of-age ceremony for the two little princesses. Then in the next few years, Huomin and Qin Chu's family and friends would gather. This was a very good thing for the couple, as they could see their good friends whom they hadn't seen in years. Pudding and the chauffeur drove back to the company in the Rolls-Royce. They were in time for a meeting of GK Entertainment's artists. GK Entertainment was a subsidiary of GK Corporation, and it was the largest company in China. After Su Yu disappeared, the artists who replaced him from Imperial Star Entertainment all joined GK. Qin Zhaozhao, Qin Chu and Huomin's eldest daughter, Pudding, became the youngest member of the board of directors of GK Entertainment. She was also the CEO of GK Entertainment. Some people asked why she didn't go to school or study abroad when she was 18 years old. The answer was that she and Little Bean had finished all the courses when they were 16 years old. After graduating from numerous universities, They didn't need to waste time abroad. 2 years ago the two sisters came back to China. Qin Mumu studied medicine and became an excellent brain surgeon, which she inherited from Qin Chu. Qin Zhaozhao studied finance and returned to the family business, becoming an excellent manager. Qin Guogua, who was 4 years younger than the twins, was still studying in England. At 14 years old he went to university. The 3 children of the Qin family were geniuses. Their genes were amazing. President Qin. Hello, President Qin. GK Entertainment. Qin Zhaozhao was wearing a white long-sleeved chiffon blouse with a dark blue fishtail skirt and high heels. She was dressed a little maturely and professionally, but it couldn't hide the face of a teenage girl. There were also people who said that there were obvious differences between the twins after they grew up. Little Bean was only slightly fatter than Pudding. Pudding's eyes looked a little like Lu Yan's with a hint of heroism and dominance. Little Bean, on the other hand, was calm and composed. She looked more like Huamin. Therefore those who were familiar with them would never confuse them. President Qin, the meeting room is ready. Is everyone here? The female secretary was at a loss for words. Qin Zhaozhao took the meeting materials from her and asked casually, Liao Mukin didn't come? Yes, President Qin, they must be stuck in a traffic jam. I just called his cell phone and his agent's cell phone, but they didn't pick up. I'll try again later. The female secretary was a little ashamed. It's not your fault. Let's begin. Pudding's personality and way of doing things were very similar to her father, Qin Chu. But there was one difference. Qin Chu was more or less the same when it came to work and life. He didn't talk much and was more cold. Pudding, on the other hand, was cold and selfless when it came to work. In life she was much gentler and wasn't as domineering. This was one of the things that people in the industry thought highly of her. As the heir of a rich second-generation heir, Qin Zhaozhao was the most popular. The media once reported that she would replace her brother as the sole heir of GK. Qin Zhaozhao walked into the meeting room with the documents. 106 of the 107 heavyweight artists signed under GK were here. President Qin. All the artists stood up when they saw her walk in. In fact, all of them were older than the president. After all, the president's 18th birthday was in a few days. Chapter 48:14. Qin Zhaozhao sat in the president's seat and lowered her head with a serious expression. Let's begin. President Qin Mukin isn't here yet. Do you want to wait? A female artist reminded. No need. The president's tone was cold. At this moment there was a knock on the door. Everyone looked up and saw Liao Mukin, who was wearing jeans and a white short-sleeved shirt, leaning against the door with a lollipop in his mouth. Sorry, President Qin, I'm late. There was a traffic jam. He took out the lollipop from his mouth and explained. Qin Zhaozhao tilted her head and looked at him. You couldn't get through to your phone in traffic? My phone ran out of battery. Your agent's phone ran out of battery too? Qin Zhaozhao was vaguely angry. After all, this wasn't the first time this guy was late for a meeting. My agent didn't bring her phone and left it in the dressing room at headquarters, he argued. Qin Zhaozhao glanced at him and looked down at the information. Don't think that just because you're popular, you can look down on others. Of course not. Even if I don't care about others, I still care about my boss. Liao Mukin smiled cheekily. Go back to your seat and start the meeting, the president said. He staggered in a few steps but didn't sit in his seat. Instead he sat in the first row very close to Pudding. Then he propped his hands up and looked at his young boss. Liao Mukin was the most popular male star under GK. Speaking of which, it was quite amazing that he became popular less than half a year ago. Half a year ago, GK held a rookie audition for the Rising Star, and Liao Mukin won the championship with 80 million online votes. He got the chance to sign a contract with GK, and GK even signed this newbie with 10 million yuan. For a time no one could compare to him. What was even more strange was that this guy sang and ran away. He acted and danced. His dance moves weren't standard and his talk shows were always off topic. However, it was this kind of person who wasn't good at anything that occupied the #1 position in the country. Just Weibo's trending searches alone had been on it more than 100 times. His Weibo followers had also soared from 20,000 to 18 million. Every time he posted on Weibo, there would be as many as 500,000 comments. The reposts had exceeded 20 million. Therefore, in the first half of the year he had accepted 12 endorsements alone. And they were all international A-listers. He was so jealous of the seniors in the industry. Qin Zhaozhao had always looked down on this brat. She felt that he did not have any talent and only relied on that devilish face of his. More importantly, that face of his. Thinking of this, Qin Zhaozhao rubbed her temples irritably. The company will be shooting 3 big movies in the second half of the year. One of them is a disaster movie with Hollywood in the United States. Our company has already confirmed that we will invest 500 million yuan and get a role in a very important role. Hearing this, the crowd below began to stir. Everyone thought that such a good opportunity would definitely belong to Liao Mukin. Unexpectedly, the CEO changed the topic. I've discussed it with the board of directors and we've decided that Lu Jia will star in the film. As soon as she finished speaking, everyone was shocked. Who was Lu Jia? She was a newcomer who had been in the company for 3 years but had never been popular. She was chosen because she acted in a teen idol web drama. Because of the high viewership, she was chosen by GK's agent. After he entered GK, the company messed up a few projects, but he never got famous because he couldn't find a suitable persona. In terms of popularity and appearance, he couldn't compare to Liao Mukin. President, I have an objection. Liao Mukin took out his lollipop and raised his hand again. Speak. The young CEO glanced at him from the corner of her eyes. Why not me? He dared to ask. He was so direct and asked the CEO in front of everyone. Chapter 48:15. Qin Zhaozhao looked at the dazzling superstar below the stage and said calmly, because you're not suitable. No one dared to make a sound and the room fell into silence. Liao Mukin raised his chin provocatively and continued to question her. How am I not suitable? She stared into his eyes and said mercilessly, because you have no talent and no morals. Look at yourself. As a superstar, you sing out of tune, you can't keep up with the rhythm of your dance, you're offline when you're acting, and you even filmed a car accident on a variety show. How dare you ask me that? But if I'm like this, I'm still a superstar. No matter how good other people are, they're not as popular as me. I have the biggest contract in the company, I get the most money, I have the most endorsements, and I make the most profits for the company. Also, President Qin, I want to ask, if you don't like me, why did you spend so much money to sign me in the first place? The guy almost said, aren't you slapping yourself in the face with money? At this moment, oh no, we should call her Little President Qin now. Little President Qin's face darkened bit by bit. Since she was young, very few people spoke to her so rudely. Even her sister, who always dissed her, didn't dare to cross the line like this. This condescending fellow was really, Mukin, don't you think you've crossed the line? Do you know that little President Qin is President Qin's most beloved daughter? It won't do you any good to offend her. The female star beside him cautiously reminded the guy. However, the guy smiled slightly and said, don't worry, I'll go somewhere else if you don't want me here. Of course, he didn't let little President Qin hear what he said. The young female president stared at him for 5 seconds and finally said, it was my decision to sign you, but I won't let you embarrass GK. Then she went back to reading the documents and continuing the meeting, ignoring the man. Back then, when they had signed him, the board of directors had not objected to it. It was because this kid was very popular. He was a veritable superstar. However, Qin Chu was once curious why his daughter signed a superstar. It wasn't her style. Of course, Pudding always had a secret that Qin Chu, Huamin, and even Little Bean didn't know. That secret was naturally related to Liao Mukin. But ever since he came to the company, every time he went against her, she found him an eyesore. She didn't want to terminate the contract. She was conflicted over and over again. After the meeting, President Qin did not forget to remind his secretary, that guy is late. Remember to deduct his salary. Liujing. Then she got up and was about to leave with the information bag. Chairman Qin. Behind him, the man's playful voice sounded again. She stopped but did not turn back. Anything else? Chapter 48:16. The weather in the north in October was unpredictable. Normally, the sky would be clear, but as soon as a cool breeze blew, it would start to drizzle, bringing with it a hint of autumn. After the meeting, Qin Zhaozhao went back to her office to read some documents. Seeing that it was about time, she picked up her bag and left the office. The female assistant didn't forget to put a beige windbreaker on her. As she walked out, she saw a familiar face. President Qin, the man called out politely. Uncle Yang. The ordinary-looking man in front of her was her father's assistant and right-hand man for many years. Now he was one of the directors of GK. Qin Chu gave him some shares and asked him to participate in the internal management of GK. Yang had been around for 2 generations. How's the preparation for your coming-of-age ceremony going? Yang asked with a smile. My parents have been working on it. That's good. I haven't seen President Qin and Mrs. Qin in a while. Come to my place for dinner tonight. My little brother is back. Haha, really? That kid is back. I'll go with your uncle after work. Hearing that Qin Guoguo was back, everyone was overjoyed. Qin Zhaozhao got off work early. She walked out of GK and drove her white Lamborghini to South Side. GK was a big company and had countless luxury cars. When she was at work, receiving clients, or attending events, she and her dad mostly used limited edition Rolls-Royces. In private, Qin Chu liked Maybachs and Huomin liked Audi R8s. This hadn't changed for many years. Little Bean liked the Porsche 911. She always thought that it was the most beautiful car in Porsche. Pudding, on the other hand, liked Lamborghinis with strong lines. In fact, very few girls liked Lamborghinis because they were too strong and sharp. However, for some reason she liked them. She had always wanted to buy the Sixth Element. However, that car had disappeared a long time ago and couldn't be bought anymore. Therefore, she ordered a new model for herself. It was white and looked very cool when she drove it. Pudding and Little Bean got their international driver's licenses when they were 16, so they had 2 years of driving experience. Little Bean was lazy and didn't want to drive, especially since she was doing her internship at Southside. Huomin didn't want her to be so high profile. Therefore, the 2 sisters often shared the same channel. When Pudding got off work, she would go to Southside to pick her sister up. Southern District Gate. The white Lamborghini was parked in the parking lot. The numbers ending with 6 were particularly eye-catching. She got out of the car gracefully. Her fishtail skirt swayed in the wind. Fortunately, her assistant had brought her a jacket. Otherwise, it would have been really cold. As soon as she entered the hall, the nurse immediately greeted her respectfully. Mississippi, I'm here to pick Little Bean up, she said. Her face was cold and distant, as if she was talking to a stranger. Second miss is in the lab. I'll go get her. No need, I'll wait for her downstairs for a while. Then she found an empty seat and sat down. Everyone in the hospital knew that she was Director Huo's daughter. The eldest and the second eldest were twins. They were very similar, but their personalities were completely different. 10 minutes later, Little Bean, who was wearing a white lab coat, ran down the stairs. She smelled of formalin. Big May, you came to pick me up. Who went to pick up that brat? Little Bean called Pudding Big May and forced her sister to call her Second May. However, Pudding never called her that. Dad went. I think so, she said faintly. You're biased. Tell Dad to pick me up tomorrow. You go pick up that brat. Little Bean was unhappy. Do you think I'm your chauffeur? Pudding rolled her eyes. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.